Steve, you're up first.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing okay, thanks. What has you most excited? What has you most concerned 4 days from opening the season against TCU?
Well, just excited to watch our guys play. They've worked really hard since the last game of our season last year, and put a lot of work in as a staff. They put a lot of work in training, and just everybody's ready to roll. Nervous, not really nervous, just knowing the first games. You're going to have some. It's not going to be perfect for either team, and just hoping you overcome the nerves quickly and settle in and play football.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Thanks, Maddie. Hi, Troy. It's Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated.
Okay.
Not a game-specific question for you, but just wondering what the approach has been to prepping for the travel that you'll be doing for ACC road games.
Yeah, I think just more planning in terms of, we're going to have a larger plane. We're going to get out a day earlier. We've talked a lot about hydration and, I think getting that a day out early and acclimating and being on a plane after we practice, like on a Thursday, and then we can, when we get to the hotel, sleep and then kind of have a whole day. We'll make a huge, I think it'll be beneficial. So, not too much anxiety about that. I think, we do a great job of taking care of our guys and traveling, and they'll be comfortable, and we're excited to go to different venues.
Have you studied it at all, like distance travel and just what the effects may be and how you may be able to counteract that?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, just talking to our people that are kind of well read in that area. And so I think, honestly, it's the East Coast, the thing that, probably is the thing you worry about the most is the humidity earlier in the year with the kickoffs. Now, Syracuse, we're playing indoors in the evening. I don't know if the Clemson time has been declared yet. But I just think, being able to try and keep our clocks in terms of our lifestyle and all that is close to the same as possible. And we'll be able to kind of deal with all those situations, I think, in a pretty normal way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Kaushik.
Oh yeah, thank you, Coach. Just a little bit more specific question. Obviously, you guys used Justin Lamson in a lot of short yardage situations last year, and he was really effective at it. And obviously, you guys have him back. I'm just curious if you guys, plan to still use him there, or you guys want to give more carries to the running backs in those short yardage situations. I'm curious maybe what the game plan is there.
Yeah, so we have three quarterbacks. We haven't announced who's going to be the starter, but we got three guys that I really feel comfortable that can play. And Justin obviously brings an element being able to run the ball and a physicality to the short yards and goal line. But, Ashton's also a really good runner. So, and Elijah Brown is a guy that's able to get himself out of trouble and get yards too. So, yeah, we feel great about Justin in those situations, and we have a number of different elements and things that we can do.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, just kind of early thoughts on TCU. Just kind of what have you seen from them, and just what areas have you seen that are maybe kind of biggest points emphasis against the Horned Frog specifically.
Yeah, so obviously first game, on the offensive side of the ball, they have Andy Avalos is their defensive coordinator. He was obviously at Boise State last year. I'm pretty familiar with him. He's an outstanding coach. He's been good on defense wherever he's been. And so we've watched, a lot of tape of Boise State and stuff that he's done in the past. Personnel wise, they're always a really talented team. So it's going to be a challenge. They've got a number of transfers that they've brought in. And so, the element of not totally knowing what they have on personnel is always going to be a factor with the transfer portal in the first game. But they're really well coached on all phases of the game. I've known Sonny Dykes for a really long time. And Kendall Briles is an outstanding offensive coach. And so they're going to have great challenging schemes. They know how to do it. And there's also the element of what they're going to do a little bit differently. And I'm sure they have the same a little bit of anxiety and wondering if we'll be any different. So that's normal first game stuff. But I think, we'll be ready to roll.
Thank you, John.
Coach, I want to talk about the coach to player communication in the helmet. Where are you in that evolution? Are you is there a cutoff like 15 seconds before the play expires or something? Just kind of give us a window, because that's new for you as well as the player.
Yeah, it once the play clock starts, and then you have communication as long as it's working. It doesn't go down until 15 seconds on the play clock, and then we can no longer communicate with whoever your player is on the field. Obviously, for us, it'll be the quarterback. So it really makes communication a lot easier, a lot quicker. Also, I think eliminates the ability for people to steal your signals and those type of things. So I think it's a great rule. Really happy that they implemented it this year, and it's been great for us. There's still the times where it's technology, so it can go down at times. So you still got to be ready with a backup plan on how to get your plays in, and we have a couple different ways of doing that.
Thank you, John. Troy?
Yeah, Coach, fascinated in this matchup with the wide receivers on both sides. Let's talk about Stanford's here. Alec Eilmanor getting top billing, but who are some of the other guys that have emerged in the mix wide receiver wise throughout the course of fall, and that we could maybe get a chance to reintroduce ourselves here in the early part of the season?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of Jackson Harris last year. He played a little bit. He'll be a guy that's very involved in Cece, who's had a really good camp. And then, of course, you guys know about Tiger Bachmeyer and the Farrell brothers, and so all those guys are going to bring an element to us. And Emmett Mosley's an outstanding player, so we're excited about our wide receiver group. And then they have a tremendous group of wide receivers. Number 3 Williams is outstanding, and they got a number of other guys. So yeah, I think it'll be a good evening to watch good wide receiver play.
Thank you, David.
Hey, Troy, you mentioned that you have not named a starter and have 3 quarterbacks that you like. How many of them do you expect to actually play in this game? Is it something where you'd like to have a package for multiple quarterbacks, or you want to see a guy try to go as long as they can?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I want to reveal my cards right now, but I'll just say this: we feel great about all 3 of those guys. I think they're all 3 outstanding players and I think we can win with all 3 of them.
And as a short follow-up, pass protection was an issue at times last year. How much progress do you feel like the offensive line has made in that sense, that whoever's going to be back there is going to have a little time to work with?
Yeah, no, it's it was a major point of emphasis for as soon as the game ended in terms of what we're doing. How can we help our guys? How can we be better at it? Running the ball obviously is always going to help with pass protection. So I think all those things play together. Now, how much improved are we? I think we are, but we're going against our own team, so we'll see. When we play a new opponent, but I feel great about our guys up front and how hard they've worked. They've really bought in. They've got bigger. They've got stronger. They're more mobile. They have a better understanding of our protection. So I'm excited to watch our guys up front. And, obviously it's not just the O-line and pass protection. It's the tight ends and the running backs, and feel like we've improved in all those areas.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, Troy, I hope I don't sound like the crotchety old man telling you to get off my lawn, but kids these days kind of have short memories. Not only kids, most people kind of have short memories. The past 3 seasons, Stanford's been 3-9 each season. If you just go back, to the 2009 to 2018 stretch of 10 years, Stanford was, if not the best team on the West Coast, certainly one of the top 2 or 3. Do you have to convince your younger guys that, the 3-9 is the anomaly, the 2009 to 2018 is what Stanford is, or am I looking too much into that?
Well, we don't look too far back, to be honest with you. Last year is about as far as anybody looks back. So I don't know, maybe subconsciously, people have those thoughts in their minds. We're really focused in on changing the way we work, changing the way we prepare. Obviously, we want to have a more successful season than we did last year. We're a lot different team than we were last year. So we'll see what happens, but we spend a lot of time just focusing on the day-to-day details. And, people are obviously going to have their opinions about your program and look backwards a lot, but we don't spend a lot of time doing that, to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Steve. Kaushik?
Yeah, coach. I know the NCAA instituted new roster limits now, and so now football teams can offer up to 105 scholarships. I was wondering if there had been talks between you and the athletic department about increasing the amount of scholarships you guys give in the future.
Yeah, there's been preliminary talks for sure. I think that would go into effect a year from now. So those things are all being talked about, and obviously there's tons of changes going on in college football. We obviously like to have all of our guys on scholarship. That's our preference, and that's what I've been told will happen. So excited about that. And I think some of the rules that are being changed and stuff, some of them are really good, and then some of them we're going to have to see how, obviously with the ability to have your limitations on the roster of 105, it's not going to be a huge effect on us. We've always been kind of limited to 110, but some schools have over 130 players, so that's going to obviously eliminate a lot of players that were walk-ons at one time. So won't have as much effect on us, but I know that will definitely be, some programs will be affected by it.
Thank you, Ben.
Kind of two questions for you. First of all, just kind of in general, how do you feel about the team health-wise going into week one? And then also, just kind of how close do you feel you are to kind of a sort of a depth chart, kind of pecking order across the board?
Yeah, pretty close. I think on the depth chart, we'll kind of solidify that here in the coming days. But we know the guys that are going to play, and a couple of guys that are getting healthy and should be ready health wise. I think we're in pretty good shape. Like I said, there's a couple of guys that should be right on the brink of being able to get going this week. So that's always a good feeling. Especially this year, we have more depth. So being able to have most of our team ready, I think is huge for us, and how we practice and prepare. And then obviously giving us depth for a long season and against a really good TCU team.
Thank you, John.
Coach, I'd ask you to comment on the transfers on the defensive. I note one on each of the three levels: Jay Green and Josiah Galvin and Clay Patterson. Just kind of first impressions of them, more than first. You've had them for a few weeks now and whatnot, but just kind of how they're fitting in.
Yeah, fitting in really well. All three great character guys that have come in and just quietly worked and proven themselves through their disposition and their work ethic and being team players. So that part's been great. And then they bring athleticism and in Clay's position and instance of great size and physicality. So all three of those guys we've been excited about. Obviously we haven't had a lot of transfer portal guys around here thus far, but those are three guys that we think are going to really help us this season.
And just a quick follow-up, Coach. You're on the offensive side of the ball, keen eye for that. When there's a defensive portal guy, how heavily do you rely on your defensive assistants, and then do you sort of do a final look? See how does your input to a defensive acquiree via the transfer portal work?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously our recruiting staff we first vet them as soon as they go in the transfer portal, see if they're academically viable for us. That's kind of the first step for us. And then we evaluate them as athletes. And then if we feel like they're kind of in the mix, then our defensive staff will look at them and then decide. And then we find out if they're interested. And then I'm kind of the last step, but I have a lot of faith in our coaches and our coaching staff that they know what they're looking. Obviously, I'm going to be much more involved on the offensive side, but at the end of the day, I need to feel comfortable with any player that we're bringing into the program.
Thank you, Troy.
Yeah, Coach, obviously Sonny Dykes no stranger to playing games at Stanford Stadium. Very familiar with him, obviously, with his time at Cal, and very familiar with his offensive prowess as well. Any common links between Sonny Dykes' coach teams from the offensive side of the football that you've noticed that you think we might see on this side, this go around?
Yeah, so I've known Sonny for a really long time and followed him closely and got to know him with it when his time when he was at Cal, and studied that system and spent some time with his staff at Cal when I was at Folsom High School. So a lot of respect for what Sonny has done, not just offensively, but in his football programs. But they've been just an explosive team on offense and everywhere he's been. So and then with Kendall Briles bringing his elements of his scheme and know-how, obviously it's going to be a challenging offense. They know how to throw it as good as anyone in the country, and they're a team that is kind of pressing you constantly. So it'll be a heck of a challenge, and then they got really good personnel. So I'd say the consistency with Sonny is they're always good on offense, and obviously with Andy Avalos and what he does on the defensive side, I think they feel really good with their coaching staff.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, Troy, if I remember correctly, toward the end of last season, you got a question in a news conference. Can't remember if it was after a game or the Monday, Tuesday ahead. Somebody asked because of the injuries and the relatively thin roster you had your offense not shown what a Troy Taylor offense could show? And you said, yeah, basically, I've had to kind of scale it back. If that's the case, what percentage of fans, or when fans are at Stanford Stadium Friday night or watching on TV, how much different will they see the Stanford offense than they saw maybe toward the end of last season?
Yeah, I think, just going back to last year, definitely when you come into a situation where, you got to adjust. And, we did that. I'd say this season, yeah, we're going in with our guns blazing and feel much better about, our depth and our guys and their comfortability, I guess, with the offense and the scheme. We definitely made some adjustments to the scheme. And as football adapts and evolves, you got to adjust as well. It's not one of those things that stays stagnant. Defensive coaches are changing constantly to adjust to the offense, and then offensively, you got to be able to adjust to those schemes. Now, they're not necessarily anything that you would notice if you're just watching on TV, but we've definitely adapted some things that we're doing. But the premise of the offense and philosophy, I'd say is pretty similar to what I've always done in the past. And I think this year, yeah, you'll have a much better look at the offense and kind of who we're going to be moving forward.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Yeah, kind of building on Steve's question, how do you kind of go about installing new plays and trickerations and things like that? Is it stuff that you've already kind of worked out in camp, or is there any stuff like maybe during a game week you might break out? Just kind of how do you kind of go about that kind of creative process?
It's a great question. I'd say, for the most part, I'm a big believer in that you're going to run the stuff that you've practiced. And the off season is really the time for research and experimentation and trying maybe some different things, and then seeing what your team does well, and then being able to teach it and coach it and get reps in what you're doing. So there's always a mix of the things that you do, no matter who you're playing, and then a little bit of game planning in terms of who you're playing, maybe what they're really good at, and maybe what they struggle. And so there's an adjustment. You just got to be really careful that you don't have too many new concepts when you go into a game, because the other thing that you got to keep in mind is they're going to change a little bit too. So you can't every single game and play. Now, again, they'll have what they do, but they're going to have minor tweaks and game plan things that they do against you. So it's always, I think, for coaches, it's always a battle to make sure you're running the stuff that you feel good about, but also having a few different things so that you can, keep the other side of the ball, on their heels a little bit.
Diego?
Hey, Coach, I had a couple of follow-up questions about the helmet communications. One, who's the player you're going to be communicating with on the defensive side of the ball? And does the rules that only allow one player with the speaker to be on the field at one time impact your ability to use multiple QB packages?
That's a great question. Absolutely. Yeah, you can only have one on the field, so it'll be our quarterback. And then if we bring in and have two quarterbacks on the field at the same time, only one of them can have communication. Now, that's a penalty if they catch you. I don't know if they ever notice it. We would never attempt to do it, but they'd have to see the green sticker and all that. And I don't know how much they're policing that, but yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, it'll be one of our linebackers that will communicate with our coaches, and unless they, in a certain week that they feel it's a better concept to have a secondary player, but most likely it'll be a linebacker.
Thank you, Troy.
Yeah, obviously a win this week would be incredible, getting to 1-0, but how much more special would a win this week potentially be, given the fact that it would be a win at home? What would that mean to this program?
Yeah, I think no matter where you're at, getting off to a great start and winning your first game is always a plus. So we want to, I mean, bottom line is we want to win them all. Obviously winning a game at home is great. But winning on the road is just as satisfying. So we're just excited to be able to play. We're happy to be playing a really good team, our first game of the year, and we got our hands full. But we're excited and we're confident going into the game.
Thank you. Last question. We'll go to John.
Coach, another sort of evolution of football question, although this is close to home for you. So, running backs catching the ball out of the backfield, obviously with Christian McCaffrey and watching the NFL, we see that valued more and more. Are you looking more for that in recruiting? Are you looking to incorporate that more into the existing running backs that you have? Sort of give us a sort of a download without revealing plays, of course,
Absolutely.
of your philosophy there.
Our philosophy is we want them to be able to do all three things: run the ball, which most of them are really good at. We want them to be able to catch the ball and then pass protect. And so, obviously looking for guys to be able to do all three things. Sometimes when you're recruiting high school guys, they just haven't caught many balls. They've ran it a lot and they've blocked a little bit. So sometimes when you go out and see them, you gotta see what their ball skills are like. I feel really comfortable with all the three guys that we recruited. We felt like what we had seen on tape and evaluating them, they could catch the ball. But that's always something that's really important. Now, if we are recruiting a back that maybe is subpar with his hands, but is an incredible runner and protector, we would have space for somebody like that. We just don't want to have too many guys because we just ask our guys to get out and catch the ball so much. We want to always maintain that threat.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Hello, everybody. We have offensive lineman Connor McLaughlin here. We'll take questions the exact same way we took them for Coach. And Ben, you're up first.
Nice. I get the first crack at Connor today. So just game week TCU, just talk about how you're feeling and yeah, go.
Yeah, Coach Dykes is obviously a really good coach. I'm really excited. They've got some guys who can play for sure. I know he was a little banged up last year, but Johnny Hodges was the guy who really jumped off on tape, number 57. Really fast linebacker. Plays almost seems like a different speed than some of the other guys on the field. Just really good player, tuned up. So it'll be cool to see him back on the field. I know he's a little banged up at the end of the season last year. They're stout in the middle too, which will be a good challenge for us. And then they've got some good edge rushers too. And then one of them being a Notre Dame transfer who I saw last year. So it'll be good to have some experience on him.
Thank you, Troy.
They got a guy from Cal as well. Elam Zor is also over there as well. Offensive line wise, where do you feel and where do you hope that the front five have been most improved from some things we saw last year?
Yeah, for sure. I know it kind of got alluded to in protection earlier, but like Coach said, protection's a lot easier when the run game's going well. So we've really honed in on that, and then also fine-tuned a lot of things in protection, not just scheme-wise, but also mechanics, techniques, really setting firm angles, trying to work on the things we can do and really get on the same page and like streamline our assignments. But yeah, like we said earlier, it'll be a lot easier when we're running the ball well.
Thank you, John.
You're working with a number of quarterbacks, multiple are likely to play in the game. Can you give us just a overview of how different they are stylistically in the huddle, or do you not notice those things?
Yeah, I mean, every guy's unique, right? Yeah, they can all do some different things, all some really cool things. They're all very talented. But to the huddle, I probably wouldn't think too much about it. You don't really look or think too much into it. Just kind of go out there, and I kind of focus on just doing my job. But they're all really talented players.
Thank you. Back to Ben.
Yeah, for you, just kind of game week, how do you kind of mentally prepare? What's kind of do you have like a routine, or just kind of how does that work for you on a game day? Is there a particular just routine music you listen to, foods you eat, just kind of walk us through kind of what a game day routine looks like for you that might be unique to you?
Yeah, so I added to my rock playlist last night, so I have some good stuff. Was listening to some Blue Oyster. What is it? Blue Oyster Cult? Does that sound right? Yeah. Listen to that this morning, so I think I'll be listening to them on game day too. Maybe some Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. But other than that, try and just stay calm. I definitely like to see my family the night before, so that'll be good. Spend some time with them. It's been a little bit, but yeah, business as usual for the most part. Be around the guys as much as I can. Get our heads in the right place and get really, really excited for the game too. Because I know one thing that's definitely really important is being grateful for everything and having a lot of gratitude to play in Stanford Stadium.
Thank you. Kaushik.
Oh yeah, Connor. I mean, a lot of new guys in the running back room. I think 3 new freshman running backs. Who are just some of the guys in that room that have been standing out in fall camp?
Yeah, to be honest, we've really got a stable. All those 3 freshmen can really run the ball well, and they're very dynamic too, which is I know Coach Taylor said was important. But we've got a lot of guys who can play, so it'll be exciting to see when we have some guys out there. But being able to do a lot of different things, but CD, Micah Ford, and Nicole Tab can all do some really cool things. So I'm excited to see it all.
Thank you, John.
Connor, your team had a great opener last year over in Hawaii. Did you anything that you remember about last year in the prep that led to such a good start on sort of in all phases in that game? Good result too.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to be calm, cool, and relaxed when you're in Hawaii. But I am glad to be back in Stanford Stadium. I love Stanford, and it's special to be in our stadium and also take a lot of pride in defending that place. So I'm excited for that. And like I said earlier, just trying to be around the guys, get everyone on the same page, and just, not think too much about it. Just go out there and play football.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, don't fear the Reaper Blue Oyster Cult. I saw them live a few years back, about a decade ago. Anyway, enough of that. Just for you personally, what areas of your game have you most been working on, looking to improve on for this season?
Yeah, in the run game, I'd definitely say trying to get more power through my feet, be more efficient and more powerful when I block. I feel like sometimes I was kind of bleeding power and being a little too high in the run game. And really, when I get on the second level, would kind of fall off blocks easily. So I've really focused on that and being deliberate in what I'm aiming for, my aiming points, whether it'd be like a gallop technique, really hitting the hip as opposed to just putting a hand on the shoulder and running up. So that's been important for me. And really trying to practice things to make the game slow down. And then same way in the past game, setting firmer angles, using my hands, trying some different things. So give myself some more variability and different things on the menu.
Ben.
Yeah, also just kind of want to get your thoughts on working with Vianney Talamaivao, Al Netter, those two coaches. Just what have you liked about working with them? And also working with them, are there things that they do differently than each other, or just kind of how have you kind of just thoughts on that coaching tandem?
Yeah, for sure. Having 2 coaches has been really nice because they're both very experienced and have wealths of knowledge. So it's nice because I think I've said this before, but when one guy says one thing, it might not click for the person, which makes sense. Like, sometimes they just use verbiage or something different that just doesn't really stick with you. So having another guy to explain it in a different way really can like help you understand it and, maybe see it on the field too. So that's been very helpful. And then, yeah, that, like I said, wealth of knowledge and they're very compatible with each other and they work well. So that's been nice too.
Any other questions for Connor? All right. Thank you so much, Connor.
Yep.
All right, we will wrap up the day with Tristan Sinclair. We'll take questions the same way we did for Connor and Coach. And Ben, you're up first.
Same question I asked Connor, Tristan. Good morning or good afternoon, I should say. Just thoughts on TCU. Go.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they got a great offense, a great offensive scheme. They like to distribute the ball out on the perimeter. And the run game was pretty solid last year. Um, I think that it's interesting watching the tape because I think a lot of those guys are gone now. Like their whole line almost is all gone. And then their running back who I thought jumped off tape. Like I thought he was maybe one of their best players just from me watching. He's out of there too. I know they got their big time receiver back, so he's gonna be a threat that we got to look out for. But I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a good game.
Kaushik?
Yeah, Tristan, I was just wondering, what do you notice about their quarterback, Josh Hoover, and what do you guys need to do to be able to slow him down?
Yeah, I think he's a solid quarterback. He distributes the ball, and I think that their scheme allows him just to make plays on the move, and they do a lot of movement stuff, getting him out of the pocket, and a lot of like the play action RPO stuff. So I think that putting pressure on him is definitely going to help.
Troy?
Yeah, Tristan, I'm sure, and perhaps you reached a point during camp, I'm sure most players do, where it's like, God, I wish we could start hitting dudes in different colored jerseys. Did you hit that point in this camp? When did it come, and how did you work through it?
Yeah, I think everyone hits that point. You start seeing you see the same stuff every day, same runs, same passes, whatever. Um, and same people. So it definitely gets tiring and like you're ready for something new. I think I'm most excited just for to be like kind of like let off the chain a little bit, because we can't hit the quarterback and we take care of our teammates. We're not going to the ground every day. Um, so I'm excited to get let off the chain and finally get to really hit somebody. But yeah, I mean, in camp it is what it is. You just got to prepare the best you can, and every tackling opportunity is real. So make it as real as possible, even if we're not going to the ground.
John?
Just as you go up in years, you get new people in the room. You're now an elder statesman. Usually, in the old days, it used to be freshmen coming in, and you have some of those, but you also have a Josiah Galvan, and he's a guy with pedigree, right? He's put up
Yep.
some good stats. What's it been like having a new player be a veteran? What have you gotten from him or levered off him, and what do you think how do you think he's integrated?
Yeah, I mean, so far he's been amazing. Jaw's like an incredible athlete. He played all these different sports and was a stud in a bunch of different sports, and then obviously had a great career so far. But he hopped in and like integrated super quick. He's totally like a Stanford guy. Even with the transfers, like all these guys that they're bringing in, they're total Stanford guys, and they definitely fit the mold to be part of the team, and he's picked it up really quick. He's a really smart player, and I think that's what you see. He's played enough snaps now where he's comfortable, playing against bigger guys, and he's got the strength and power already that some of the young freshman guys that come in they don't really have. So he's been a great addition, and he's going to play a lot this year.
Ben?
Yeah, just talk about your relationship with Guy from Bernardo and how that's kind of progressed over the last year since he's come onto the team.
Yeah, he's like my right hand guy. He's like my wingman. That's what we call each other. So, it's been a great relationship, even just from the jump. Like, GB is such an awesome dude. He's like so positive and so outgoing, and I'm more of like a quiet guy, but he's like super outgoing, and I feel like everyone knows GB like around campus and around the athletic facility and stuff like that. So it's been fun being with him. And we're just at this point now we've played so many snaps next to each other that we just kind of know what we're thinking. And we got terminology and communication that we say to each other just to remind ourselves constantly. And I think that we're constantly talking out there. Coach G's always like asking like what we're saying to each other. He like thinks we're like arguing or something sometimes. He's like, what are you guys arguing about? And we're really just talking out there, talking about the sets, the backfield set, any tips or alerts. And that's kind of like, playing so many snaps with him, it's been easy to gel and have that good communication.
Kaushik?
Yeah, Tristan, obviously sort of as one of the veterans on the team, being a sixth-year guy, I'm sure teammates give you nicknames or something like that. Are they calling you Unc or anything like that? I'm kind of curious what nickname they've given you.
Yeah, the Unk is a big one. McLaughlin calls me Grandpa. I can't even. I mean, he's like a fifth year too, so he's an old guy too. I don't know. He's always giving me crap for that, but yeah, they got all types of stuff they call me.
Back to John.
You can tell them that they're 9-year guys playing college football somewhere. So you're not one of them. Um, I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm wondering whether this piece of motivation will come out of your mouth or a coach's mouth. TCU had a great year a couple years ago. They're in the national championship game last year. They stumbled a bit. I think they were 5-7, including a sort of a high-profile opener. They lost to Colorado in at home, and a lot of us were watching. So methinks they're going to be extra crisp uh, in this opener. Just remembering last year, is that something you'll think about? Someone will bring up, or is that just kind of not? That's kind of a media thing, and you guys just are going to be crisp no matter what.
Yeah, I think that like game one is definitely like there's something real to that. I was like watching the SMU game. What was it? 2 nights ago or whatever, and I think game one for everyone is like always tough. I think you prepare the best you can, and you're kind of ready for stuff to be uncertain and ready for adversity. I think it's just hard when you're not really in that flow. Like even right now, okay, it's finally game week, and we're preparing for a game, and everyone's got the nerves and kind of isn't in the flow yet. And I think game one is always kind of crazy and unpredictable, and that's why you just have to be ready for adversity and be ready to make changes on the fly.
Troy.
First, a lot of depth in the outside linebacker spots, two very good corners and Manley and Wright on the outside. How can those respective units help you do your job and vice versa?
Yeah, starting with the secondary, I would say like obviously everything works together. It's like it's a whole like the one unit thing is so true. Secondary is holding guys up and clamping guys outside, then they don't have places to throw. D line gets home, outside linebackers get home. And the opposite's true as well. If they're putting pressure on the quarterback, the outside linebackers, D line, and us as well, then the quarterback's throwing bad throws or we call them ball destructions. Getting a hand up or something in his way to make him throw it where he doesn't want to throw it. And then corners get picks, safeties get picks, and they're making PBUs. So I think everything just works together. But those two rooms especially, our corners are solid, our safeties are solid. I'm super excited about the secondary. Those guys are gonna fly around and make plays. And then obviously the outside linebackers bring the pass rush, which is something that I think that we've gotten a lot better at. And we got some stuff in to bring some pressure, so I'm excited for it.
Steve.
Jefferson, something I asked Coach Taylor, and I'm a grand uncle for real, so you're not grandpa, but you have been around the program for a while. And look, not telling any tales out of school, so to speak. You guys have been 3-9 each of the last 3 seasons.
Mhm.
But when you were being recruited, Stanford at that time was, if not the top program on the West Coast, it was certainly one of the top 3.
Mhm.
Do you have to tell your teammates that the past 3 seasons are an anomaly and that 2009 to 2018 stretch is what Stanford is supposed to be? Or am I reading too much into that and each season is an entity unto itself?
I think that like the culture here was winning, like when Coach Harbaugh came in and kind of turned this program around, like it was, and then, Coach Shaw took over, like the culture was a winning culture. And, there's definitely something to that. It's like when the culture is strong in a place and, the coaches are staying there and they're fostering that culture. Um, it's easy to have continued success, like I think that there's something really to that, like having that winning culture. And I think that we've gotten off track, and I think that, last year we kind of laid the foundation for building a better culture and for getting back to winning. And like I feel like this year's our year to prove it now. But I think there's definitely something to having that winning culture, I would say.
Great. Thank you.
Ben.
Yeah, just kind of two-part question here. Just first of all, just talk about kind of the comfortability of that you guys film in year 2 in Bobby April's system for those that are returning. And then as an inside linebacker, what is maybe the most kind of difficult or challenging aspect of that system for your position?
Sure. I think everyone feels, I mean, we basically have our whole team back, and just added more guys, more depth. So I think that the comfortability is like way higher than it was last year. Just like the things we're able to do, and being able to add defenses and to add more nuance and more checks, more calls within those defenses. It's been great so far, and I think our safeties are like making all the calls and checks and adjustments, and our secondary as well. So I mean, that stuff honestly has been great so far, and we'll see how it goes in the season. And then for us, I would just say communication. Like inside linebacker is, I guess we're kind of like one of the quarterbacks of the defense, and um, we handle a lot of that stuff and making sure everyone's lined up right, and then making sure we're lined up right and be able to react and make plays. But the communication is tough, and there's a lot of checks and adjustments, and that stuff's on us to take charge and lead.
John?
Technology question for the guy who reportedly built a computer in 6th grade. Will you be the green dot guy, the helmet communication guy on defense? And the second thing is video on the sidelines with tablets. Is that something you'll use, not use as much as other position groups? Kind of give us a window into the technology stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so as of right now, like the inside linebackers are going to be handling all the communication stuff. So I think, if we go out there and start, it'll be me, and then we all kind of have backup helmets with and without it. Me, GB, Rose, Jaw, all those guys. So I think it'll definitely be one of us, and if I'm not out there, it'll probably be GB. And that stuff's awesome. It's pretty fun. It's cool to have like those little tips, especially with a coach like, as experienced as Coach D'Onofrio, having him in your ear, like he's calling out stuff and, reminding you and telling you what to look for. Because he sees the game like ahead of time. As soon as they line up in formation, he knows what's coming. Just with all the experience being a DC. And then for the tablet stuff on the sideline, it's pretty sweet. We've had a couple practices where we've been practicing using it. And I think that in the past, like basically the biggest difference is, I mean, our GAs would just like kind of memorize all the plays. Like, okay, it was, they would write down like this formation and they ran, zone cut or whatever. And then, we would memorize the plays too of like the whole drive pretty much and be able to come on the sideline and talk about like what happened. But I guess now we can just watch it, which is pretty cool. So, I think that it'll help coaches make more adjustments, and maybe be able to just visualize what happened a little bit more. Because there are some plays in the long drive that, you'll forget like what exactly happened, or you won't see the full picture. But normally, like we could come up the sideline and be like, oh, it was pin pull, and I gotta have a better enter, and we got to scrape or something like that. So it'll be nice to have that and be able to see it kind of, from a step back instead of being in the game.
Any other questions for Tristan? All right, thank you so much for attending today's press conference. We will see you at Stanford Stadium on Friday. Thank you.